Matthew Lee, Inner City Press. Thanks a lot for doing this. I noticed that the statement spoke about the Federal Reserve and kind of transparency and communication. So I wanted to ask you, many people seem to be surprised by the size of the rate increase recently. Can you say a little bit more about what you think going forward the Federal Reserve should do on its communications? And also the administration here in the U.S. has asked the Fed and other agencies to take antitrust much more seriously, to look at the side of large mergers. There's some large bank mergers pending on which hearings have been scheduled. What do you see as the relationship between antitrust enforcement and the economy, and what do you think of this, the administration's? I understand you won't get into purely domestic things, but antitrust and the global economy at this time generally. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Matthew. You have a great background. I don't know where exactly you're sitting, but we know you're in New York. We can see that. Look, we I'm going to ask Nigel to give you more on the technical aspects of your question. We do see the need, we recognize the need of more stepped-up approach from the Fed. In fact, our team has been recommending to prioritize fighting inflation and to take very decisive action. So when the decision on the 75 basic points came, we cheered it. Can I say that, Nigel? And we did so because of the rapidly changing landscape on inflation in the United States, but also globally. Let me say, we are in a very unusual place, and Nigel would comment a bit more, because the factors that impact inflation are so multifaceted. Let me just take food prices. We have the war in Ukraine impacting supply, but we also have multiple cases of bad harvests because of weather events. And even before the war in Ukraine, there was hunger on the horizon in sub-Saharan Africa. And this war means that the problem is much more severe. People are going to die. And that food situation for this year may be similarly difficult, if not more difficult, next year. So that is only one example of exogenous shocks that are built one upon the other and are creating this fairly serious inflationary spiral that has to be brought under control. And that's what Ilan said, but that is what I'm saying. We need that if we want to restore growth and protect people's incomes. I'm going to ask Nigel to get a bit more in the details of your question, but thank you very much for asking him, because what you're doing is keeping the focus on what matters the most at this time. So, Nigel.
So, thank you. So, two parts of your question. The first one on communications. I think this last 6 or 9 months has demonstrated, first of all, that the economy can move very, very quickly in the US, and that in times of uncertainty, having really good communications is extremely valuable. And so we know that the Fed has been very proactive in signaling its policy actions. It has a number of ways to do that, through minutes, through speeches, through its FOMC statements. We've made some suggestions on areas where it could be improved, and particularly given more guidance to people on scenarios, on forecasts of where the Fed most likely thinks the outcome would be that would complement its current communication tools. And then on your second question on antitrust, so we have seen, and we've done a lot of work on the team actually over the past couple of years, there has been a significant increase in concentration among the corporate sector in the US. And that's had all sorts of ramifications I think we're still trying to sort through. We see it in labor markets, we see it in the way prices are formed, and we also see it in particular in the way monetary policy transmits to the US economy. So I think there is a case understand better how much this increased concentration of corporate sector has an effect. And I think insofar as this is a distortion, is creating mispricing and overly large profits within the economy, there is a role for antitrust legislation to examine that as well. Thank you.
And my apologies, Matthew, I didn't pick up on your second question. I just second everything that Nigel said. It is a distortion and not helping the economy to provide a sound and stable price stability, as we say, for its growth.